The human body is like a stock car. We may look different on the outside, but under the hood, we all have huge reservoirs of potential and a governor impeding us from reaching our maximum velocity. In a car, the governor limits the flow of fuel and air so it doesn't burn too hot, which places a ceiling on performance. It's a hardware issue. The governor can easily be removed, and if you disable yours, watch your car rocket beyond 130 mph. It's a subtler process in the human animal. Our governor is buried deep in our minds, intertwined with our very identity. It knows what and who we love and hate. It's read our whole life story and forms the way we see ourselves and how we would like to be seen. It's the software that delivers personalized feedback in the form of pain and exhaustion, but also fear and insecurity, and it uses all of that to encourage us to stop before we risk it all. But here is the thing, it doesn't have absolute control. Unlike the governor in the engine, ours can't stop us unless we buy into its bullshit and agree to quit. Sadly, most of us give up when we have only given around 40% or of our maximum effort. Even when we feel like we have reached our absolute limit, we still have 60% more to give. That's the governor in action. Once you know that to be true, it's simply a matter of stretching your pain tolerance, letting go of your identity and all of your self limiting stories so you can get to 60%, then 80%, and beyond without giving up. I call this the 40% rule, and the reason it's so powerful is that if you follow it, you will unlock your mind to new levels of performance and excellence in sports and in life, and your rewards will run far deeper than mere material success. The 40% rule can be applied to everything we do because in life almost nothing will turn out exactly as we hope. There are always challenges, and whether we are at work or school or feeling tested within our most intimate or important relationships, we will all be tempted to walk away from commitments, give up on our goals and dreams, and sell our own happiness short at some point because we will feel empty, like we have no more to give when we have not tapped even half of the treasure buried deep in our minds, hearts, and souls. I know how it feels to be approaching an energetic dead end. I have been there too many times to count. I understand the temptation to sell short, but I also know that impulse is driven by your mind's desire for comfort, and it's not telling you the truth. It's your identity trying to find sanctuary, not help you grow. It's looking for a status quo, not reaching for greatness or seeking wholeness. But the software update that you need to shut your governor down is no supersonic download. It takes 20 years to gain 20 years of experience, and the only way to move beyond your 40% is to callous your mind day after day, which means you will have to chase pain like it's your demon job. Imagine you are a boxer and on your first day in the ring you take one on your chin. It's gonna hurt like fucking hell, but at year 10 of being boxer, you won't be stopped by one punch. You will be able to absorb 12 rounds of getting beat the fuck down and come back the very next day and fight again. It's not that the punch has lost power. Your opponents will be even stronger. The change has happened within your brain. You have calloused your mind over a period of time, 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 over, over a, over a, over over a period of time, your tolerance for mental and physical suffering will have expanded because your software will have learned that you can take a hell of a lot more than one punch, and if you stay within it task that is trying to beat you down, you will reap rewards. Not a fighter, not a fighter. You say you like to run but have a broken pinky toy. I will bet if you continue running on it, pretty soon you will be able to run on broken legs. Sounds impossible, right? I know it's true because I have run on broken legs, and that knowledge helped me endure all manner of agonies on the ultra circuit, which has revealed a clear spring of self confidence that I drink from whenever my tank is dry. But nobody taps their reserve 60% right away or all at once. The first step is to remember that our initial blast of pain and fatigue is your governor taking. Once you do that, you are in control of the dialogue in your mind, and you can remind yourself that you are not as trained as you think, that you have not given that you have not given it your all. Not even close. Buying into that will keep you in the fight, and that's worth an extra 5%. Of course, that's easier read than done. It was not easy to begin the fourth lap of the Hurt 100 because I knew how much it would hurt. And when you are feeling dead and buried, dehydrated, wrung out, and torn the fuck up at 40%, finding that extra 60% feels impossible. I did not want my suffering to continue. No one does. That's why the line fatigue makes cowards of us all is true as shit. Mind you, I did not know anything about the 40% rule that day. The Hurt 100 is when I first started to contemplate it, but I had hit the wall many times before, and I had learned to stay present and open minded enough to recalibrate my goals even at my lowest. I knew that staying in the flight I knew that staying in the fight is always the hardest and most rewarding first step. Of course, it's easy to be open minded when you leave yoga class and are taking a stroll by the beach. But when you are suffering, keeping an open mind is hard work. The same is true if you are facing a daunting challenge on the job or at school. Maybe you are tackling a 100 question test and know that you have bricked the first 50. At that point, it is extremely difficult to maintain the necessary discipline to force yourself to keep taking the test seriously. It's also imperative that you find it because in every failure there is something to be gained, even if it's only practice for the next test you will have to take, because that next test is coming. That's a guarantee. I didn't start my fourth lap with any sort of conviction. I was in wait and see mode, and halfway up that first climb, I became so dizzy I had to sit under a tree for a while. Two runners passed me one at a time. They checked in, but I waved them on. Told them I was just fine. Yeah, I was doing great. I was a regular Ecosconia. From my vantage point, I could see the crest of the hill above and encouraged myself to walk at least that far. If I still wanted to quit after that, I told myself that I would be willing to sign off and that there is no shame in not finishing the 100. I said that to myself again and again because that's how our governor works. It messages your ego even as it stops you short of your goals. But once I got to the top of the climb, the higher ground gave me a new perspective, and I saw another place off in the distance and decided to cover that small stretch of mud, rock, and root to before quitting for good. Once I got there, I was staring down a long descent and even thought the footing was troubling. It was looked much easier than going uphill. Without realizing it, I had gotten to a point where I was able to strategize. On the first climb, I was so dizzy and weak, I was swept into a moment of fuck, which clogged my brain. There was no room for strategy. I just wanted to quit. But by moving a little bit further, I would reset my brain. I had calmed down and realized I could chunk the race down to size, and staying in the game like that gave me hope, and hope is addictive. I chunked the race out that way, collecting 5% chips, unlocking more energy than burning it up at same blade into the wee hours. I became so tired I damn near fell asleep on my feet. And that's dangerous on a trail with so many switchbacks and drop offs. Any runner could have easily sleepwalked into oblivion. The one thing keeping me awake was the piss poor trail condition. Was the piss poor trail condition. I fell on my ass dozens of times. My street shoes were out of their element. It felt like I was running on ice, and the inevitable fall was always jarring. But at least it woke me up. It woke me up by running a little while, then walking a stretch. I was able to forge ahead to mile 77. I was able to forge ahead of mile 77, the toughest descent of them all, which is when I saw Carl Meltzer, the speed goat, crest the hill behind me. He wore a lamp on his head and another on his wrist, and a hip pack with two big water bottles. Silhouetted in pink tone light, he charged down slope, navigating a section that had me stumbling and groping for tree branches to stay right. He was about to lap me 3 miles from the finish line on pace for a course record. 22 hours and 16 minutes. But what I remember most is how graceful he looked running at an incredible 6:30 per mile pace. He was levitating over the mud, riding a whole different chain. His feet barely touched the ground, and it was a beautiful fucking sight. The speed goat was the living, breathing answer to the question that colonized my mind after the Las Vegas marathon. What I am capable of. 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 Watching that bad man glide across the most challenging terrain made me realize that there is a whole other level of athlete out there in the world, and that some of that was inside me too. In fact, it's in all of us. I am not saying that genetics don't play a role in athletic performance or that everyone has an undiscovered ability to run a 4 minute mile, dunk, dunk like LeBron James, shoot like Steph Curry, or run the Hurt 122 hours. We don't all have the same floor or ceiling, but we each have a lot more in us than we know. And when it comes to endurance sports like ultra running, everyone can achieve feats they once thought impossible. In order to do that, we must change our minds, be willing to scrap our identity, and make the extra effort to always find more in order to become more. We must remove our governor. That day on the Hurt 100 circuit, after seeing Meltzer run like a superhero, I finished my fourth lap in all kinds of pain and took time to watch him celebrate, surrounded by his team. He had just achieved something nobody had ever done before, and here I was with another full lap to go. My legs were rubber, my feet swollen. I did not want to go on, but I also knew that was my pain talking. My true potential was still undetermined. Looking back, I would say I had given 60%, which means my tank was just shy of half full. I would like to sit here and tell you I went all out and drained that fucker on lap 5, but I was still a mere tourist on planet Ultra. I was not the master of my mind. I was in the laboratory, still in discovery mode. Still, still in discovery mode, and I walked every single step of my fifth and final lap. It took me 8 hours, but the rain had stopped. The tropical glow of the warm Hawaiian sun felt phenomenal, and I got the job done. I finished her 133 hours and 23 minutes, just shy of the 36-hour cutoff, good enough for ninth place. Only 23 athletes finished the entire race, and I was one of them. I was so thrashed afterward. Two people carried me to the car, and Kate had to spin me up to my room in a demon wheelchair. When we got there, we had more work to do. I wanted to get my bad water application done ASAP, so without so much as a cat nap, we polished that shit up. Within a matter of days, Postman emailed me to let me know that I had been accepted into Badwater. It was a great feeling. It also meant that for the next 6 months I had two full-time jobs. I was a Navy SEAL in full preparation mode for Badwater. This time I would get strategic and specific because I knew because I knew that in order to unleash my best performance, if I wanted to blow past 40%, drain my tank and tap my full potential, I had to first give myself an opportunity. That's it for the day.